The state of Alaska is the one piece of the American map that you simply cannot comprehend until you are standing inside of it. You step out of the airport in Anchorage, or you pull your car over on the shoulder of the Seward Highway, and you look out at the Chugach Mountains. The sheer, overwhelming scale of the rock, the endless ocean of boreal pine, the heavy gray sky pressing down on the water. It is beautiful. It feels still and cold and ancient. It is the kind of breathtaking postcard beauty that makes you let your guard down. You take a breath of the sharp air, you zip up your jacket, and you do not think, not once, about the fact that this softness, this picturesque stillness, is a kind of camouflage. It is a trick of perspective. Because the landscape is so massive, it shrinks you. And because it shrinks you, you fail to see exactly what kind of life a land this size is capable of hiding. But the animals never signed an agreement to stay out of your way. Most lists of dangerous animals send you to a sweltering jungle, or a venom-filled desert, or a remote swamp. This one does not move an inch from the freezing north. Today we are counting down 9 giant creatures roaming the Alaskan wilderness. But we are ranking them by a very specific set of rules. We are looking at these giants not just by how much sheer, bone-crushing mass they carry, but by how completely people pretend they are not there. We are ranking them by the depth of human denial, weighted by real encounter statistics logged by the Alaska Department of Fish and Game and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We are looking at the animals that are literally bigger than your truck, yet somehow manage to stay perfectly hidden until it is too late. And here is the shape of this countdown. We start with the massive creatures that people mistakenly treat like petting zoo attractions, hiding right in plain sight in the city limits. We move through the ghosts of the Ice Age and the shadows of the deep water, things that rewrite the rules of what can exist in the dark. And we end with something that shouldn't be able to vanish, but does. By the time we reach number 1, you are going to understand why the phrase "out of sight, out of mind" is a very dangerous joke up here. Because the animal at number 1 is a predator so massive, it literally alters the geology of the islands it walks on. And it is something that could be standing 10 feet from you in the brush in absolute silence, without you ever knowing it is there. Before we start, if you are the kind of person who likes the sort of thing that makes you look twice at country you thought you knew, go ahead and subscribe. It takes 2 seconds, and it keeps you with us for the next journey. And tell me one thing. Where in the world are you watching from? And what is the largest wild animal you have ever seen with your own eyes? Drop it in the comments. I read them all. Now, let us get into the list. Number 9. The Alaskan moose. You would not normally look at an animal that eats twigs and aquatic plants and see a monster. Culturally, people who have never been to Alaska think of the moose as a goofy, long-legged deer, something to put on a souvenir mug. What most people do not know is that the Alaskan moose, specifically the Jigas subspecies, is the largest member of the deer family to have ever walked the earth, and it injures more people in this state every year than all the bear species combined. An adult bull can stand over 7 feet tall at the shoulder, carrying a rack of antlers 6 feet across and weighing easily over 1,500 pounds. But the danger is not just in the weight. The danger is in where they live and how we deny what they are. Anchorage is a modern city, but it is a city built inside a wild corridor. Over 1,000 moose live within the city limits. They are standing in the retention ponds behind office buildings. They are bedding down in the snowdrifts next to elementary schools, and they are standing in your driveway when you try to leave for work in the dark. The mechanism of danger here is pure kinetic energy paired with a total lack of fear. A moose does not retreat. It does not flee from a loud noise. If a 1-ton bull decides you are too close to its space, it will simply run you over, driving hooves the size of dinner plates down with enough force to shatter human femurs and cave in rib cages. When a heavy pickup truck hits a moose on the park's highway at 60 miles an hour, the truck is often totaled, and the moose simply walks into the trees. People assure themselves that because it is an herbivore, it is gentle. They walk right up to them in the snow to take a picture, entirely misjudging the speed with which 1,500 pounds of muscle can cover 20 yards. They have been here the whole time, right in the suburbs, waiting for you to make a miscalculation. Number 9 is the giant that lives in your driveway and dares you to ask it to move. Number 8, the stellar sea lion. Everyone knows that the waters of the Alaskan coast are teeming with marine life, and it is easy to look out from a dock in Seward or Homer and see a heavy, blubber-covered shape hauling itself onto a buoy and assume it is just a lazy, oversized seal. But the stellar sea lion is an entirely different class of creature. This is the largest of all the eared seals, and the males are terrifyingly massive. A mature bull can reach 11 feet in length and weigh up to 2,500 pounds. That is a creature the size of a compact car, wrapped in thick hide and propelled by flippers that give it the underwater agility of a torpedo. What makes the stellar sea lion so incredibly dangerous is the psychological disconnect between how they look on land and what they are in the water. On a dock, they look lethargic, groaning and sleeping in the sun. But beneath the surface of the freezing Gulf of Alaska, they are the aquatic equivalent of a grizzly bear. They are apex predators that hunt salmon, squid, and even small sharks. They are fiercely territorial, and their bite force is designed to crush through heavy bone and cartilage. In the water, they are known to become highly aggressive toward humans, charging divers, biting at flippers, and, in some documented cases, dragging fishermen right off the decks of small boats when they get too close to a catch. They do not warn you. They simply accelerate from the murky green depths, a wall of muscle moving faster than you can track. We pretend they are just part of the coastal scenery, big, harmless dogs of the sea. But that is our denial. Number 8 is the reminder that in Alaskan waters, even the collateral wildlife is built like a tank. Number 7, the Pacific halibut. You would not think of a flatfish resting at the bottom of the ocean as a dangerous giant. Flatfish are supposed to be small, camouflaged things you find in the shallows. But everything in Alaska scales up to a terrifying degree, and the Pacific halibut is the undisputed monster of the seafloor. Found deep in the frigid waters of Kachemak Bay and the Bering Sea, these fish are affectionately and nervously referred to by locals as barn doors. And for good reason. A mature female Pacific halibut can grow to be over 8 feet long and weigh more than 400 pounds. They are essentially solid slabs of pure coiled muscle, lying flat in the pitch blackness of the abyss. The danger of this giant does not come from being hunted by it. The danger comes from the violent reality of dragging something that large and that powerful out of its world and into ours. When a fisherman hooks a giant halibut and cranks it up from the deep, they are pulling a living bomb onto the deck of the boat. These fish do not surrender. Once pulled over the rail, a 400-pound halibut will begin to thrash with a concussive, explosive violence. Their tails are so thick and their musculature so dense that a direct slap from a thrashing halibut can, and repeatedly has, shattered the bones in a fisherman's legs. They destroy equipment, they smash through fiberglass, and they cause chaotic, bloody injuries on small vessels miles from any hospital. The denial here is the assumption that a fish is just a fish, that because it lives in the mud, it has no power. But it has been waiting down there all along, growing heavier in the dark. Number 7 is the monster hiding at the bottom of the sea, waiting to test the strength of your spine. Number 6, the northwestern wolf. We picture wolves through the lens of folklore and nature documentaries from the lower 48. We think of them as the size of large German shepherds, elusive and solitary, howling at the moon in a majestic, harmless way. What most people do not understand is that the northwestern timber wolf, roaming the interior of Alaska from the Brooks Range down to Denali, is the largest subspecies of wolf on the planet. Individual males regularly exceed 145 pounds. But the true giant here is not the individual animal. The giant is the pack. We're at the halfway point of this countdown, and if you are still with me, you are clearly someone who actually wants to know what is breathing out there in the dark, not just the sanitized postcard version of the wild. So this is the perfect moment to subscribe to the channel, because the animals from here up are the ones people flat out refuse to believe are real. When we talk about the northwestern wolf, we have to talk about scale. In Alaska, a wolf pack is not a small family unit of 4 or 5 animals. These packs can swell to 20 or 30 members. When you have 30 wolves, each weighing over 100 pounds moving together, you are no longer looking at a group of animals. You are looking at a single, massive, breathing superorganism that weighs over 3,000 pounds and operates with the tactical coordination of a military unit. They hunt caribou, they hunt moose, and they will run down bison. The terror of the northwestern wolf is their absolute silence. They do not howl to be majestic. They howl to coordinate a massive geographic envelopment. If you are out in the backcountry and you see one of these massive wolves standing at the edge of the tree line, watching you, the mechanism of danger is what you do not see. You are only seeing the one they want you to see. The rest of the mass is already flanking you in the brush. People deny their danger because human attacks are historically rare, but the reality is that we are simply too slow and too loud to be considered prime prey. Yet they are always there, moving like smoke through the snow. Number 6 is a giant made of 24 moving parts, all synchronized to pull down things much larger than you. Now the animals begin to genuinely surprise people, because from here up, the list stops being about what is simply large and starts being about creatures that have no business existing where they do. Things that distort the very landscape around them, and things that push the boundaries of what we are willing to believe. Number 5. The wood bison. If you walk through the dense boreal forests and muskeg swamps of the Innoko National Wildlife Refuge, you might think you are in a landscape where the biggest things are bears and moose. But hiding in this thick, remote terrain is a ghost from the Pleistocene epoch. The wood bison is the largest terrestrial mammal in North America, visibly larger, heavier, and taller than the iconic plains bison of the American West. A mature bull can stand well over 6 feet at the massive hump on its shoulders and weigh in excess of 2,200 pounds. They are walking freight trains built of wool, horn, and muscle. What makes them so unnerving is their history and their incredible density in a place you would never expect them. The wood bison was hunted to the very edge of total extinction. They were functionally wiped out of Alaska for over a century. But in 2015, the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, alongside conservationists, orchestrated a massive reintroduction program, flying a herd of these giants in cargo planes and releasing them back into the wild. And they thrived. They exploded in population. The psychological denial here is profound. We wrote them off in our history books. We assumed the Ice Age was over and its megafauna was gone. But you can be navigating a quiet tributary of the Yukon River, come around a bend, and find yourself staring at a herd of 2,000-pound giants crashing through the timber, shaking the earth with every step. They are immensely powerful, deeply unpredictable, and capable of destroying anything that threatens the herd. Number 5 is a ghost from the Ice Age that came back to reclaim its forest. 2,000 pounds at a time. Number 4, the Pacific sleeper shark. When people think of the ultimate ocean predator, they think of the great white shark hunting in the sunlit waters of California or South Africa. They do not think of the freezing, pitch-black depths of the Alaskan fjords, and they certainly do not think of a giant shark that thrives beneath the ice. The Pacific sleeper shark is a geographical paradox, a deep-water leviathan that can grow up to 23 feet long and weigh over 4,000 pounds. They glide silently through the deep waters of Prince William Sound and the Bering Sea, their tissues saturated with a natural antifreeze that allows them to survive in temperatures that would kill almost anything else. The sleeper shark is terrifying precisely because of its ordinary invisibility. They move with an incredibly slow, lethargic rhythm, conserving energy in the dark. Many of them are completely blind, their eyes eaten away by bioluminescent copepod parasites that attach to their corneas. But they do not need to see. They hunt by scent, and by sensing the electromagnetic fields of their prey, and their prey is not small. Researchers examining the stomach contents of Pacific sleeper sharks have found the remains of giant squid, harbor seals, and even full-grown polar bears. They are the silent custodians of the abyss. We look at the dark water of the Alaskan coast and we see an empty void. We deny that something that massive, something older than the United States itself, is swimming a few hundred feet directly beneath the keel of our boats. Number 4 is the ancient shadow in the deep, moving so slowly you do not realize you are in its mouth until it closes. Number 3, the polar bear. Culturally, the polar bear has been heavily sanitized. We put them on holiday commercial broadcasts, we give them cartoonish voices, and we paint them as fragile, helpless victims of a changing climate sitting on melting ice floes. Biologically, the reality is vastly, brutally different. The polar bear is the largest species of bear on the planet, and the largest land carnivore currently walking the earth. A male can stand 10 feet tall and weigh up to 1,500 pounds. Underneath that thick white fur, their skin is pitch black to absorb the sun, and their paws are the size of snowshoes, equipped with 2-inch claws designed to grip slick ice and tear through the thick blubber of seals. But the true mechanism of danger with a polar bear is its psychology. Every other predator on this list, and indeed almost every predator on Earth, has an inherent instinctual wariness of human beings. Grizzly bears usually attack defensively, to protect cubs or a food cache. Wolves avoid us. The polar bear is the only apex predator on the continent that actively, deliberately tracks and hunts human beings as a primary food source. If you are in the northern reaches of Alaska, in places like Utqiagvik on the edge of the Beaufort Sea, and a polar bear is walking toward you, it is not curious. It is not defending territory. You have already been classified as calories. They do not posture. They do not do false warning charges. They simply keep coming, completely silent on the ice, blending perfectly into the whiteout conditions of a winter storm. Our denial is projecting human morality and fragility onto a perfect, unfeeling killing machine. Number 3 is the ghost of the high Arctic, the one creature that looks at a human being and sees nothing but a meal. Number 2, the giant Pacific octopus. When we imagine a giant, we invariably imagine something with bones. We think of heavy, thudding footsteps, snapping branches, and a sheer mass that demands space. The giant Pacific octopus violates every single rule of what a giant is supposed to be. Living in the cold, nutrient-rich coastal waters of the Aleutian Islands and the Gulf of Alaska, this is the largest octopus species in the world. They can weigh over 150 pounds, with a radial arm span stretching up to 20 feet across. They have 3 hearts, blue blood, and a highly complex nervous system that makes them terrifyingly intelligent. The shock of the giant Pacific octopus is its absolute liquid invisibility. Because they have no bones, aside from a razor-sharp beak, a 150-pound monster can squeeze its entire body through a gap no larger than an apple. They are the ultimate masters of camouflage, capable of changing not just the color of their skin, but the physical texture of it to perfectly mimic rock, kelp, or coral in a fraction of a second. Scuba divers in Alaska have swam mere inches above a massive octopus and seen nothing but the sea floor, right up until the sea floor reached up and grabbed them. They possess thousands of independent suckers, each capable of lifting pounds of weight, and their grip is almost impossible to break. We tell ourselves that big things are easy to spot, that a giant cannot hide in plain sight. But this creature proves that a giant can be absolutely anywhere, completely invisible, wrapping its arms around you before your brain even registers that the rock is moving. Number 2 is an alien intelligence rewriting the geometry of the dark water. And that leaves just one, the animal I warned you about at the very beginning, the ultimate Alaskan giant, the one that can stand 10 feet from you in the brush, weighing as much as a small car, and you would never even know it was there. Number 1, the Kodiak bear. I told you in the introduction that the phrase out of sight, out of mind is a fatal mistake in this state, and this creature is the absolute embodiment of that truth. The Kodiak bear is a unique subspecies of brown bear that has been geographically isolated on the Kodiak archipelago for over 12,000 years. Fed by endless runs of rich Pacific salmon and a pristine, undisturbed habitat, they have grown to impossible proportions. A large male Kodiak can weigh upwards of 1,500 pounds and stand over 10 feet tall on his hind legs. They are the largest terrestrial predators on Earth, rivaled only by the polar bear, but they carry a completely different kind of dread. Because despite their truck-like size, despite the fact that they have skulls the size of engine blocks and muscles thick enough to flip over boulders, They are masters of the dense, suffocating alder thickets of the Alaskan coast. The psychological denial here is profound. People assume that something this incredibly heavy must be loud. We expect a giant to announce its presence, but a Kodiak bear steps softly. Its massive paws are heavily padded, and it knows exactly how to navigate the thick brush without breaking a single branch. You can be hiking along a salmon stream on Kodiak Island, pushing through the green foliage, and you can walk within 5 feet of a sleeping 1,500-pound giant. You will not hear it. You might only smell the deep, musky scent of wet fur and decaying fish a second before the brush explodes. They do not just survive in the Alaskan landscape, they dictate it. They carve the trails. They decide who walks and who does not. Number 1 is the undisputed king of the island, the giant that forces you to realize you are only a temporary visitor in a kingdom that belongs entirely to them. So here is what this list is really about. It is not about fear, and it is not about monster movies. It is about the deeply ingrained, quiet agreement we make with ourselves when we walk into the wild. We look at the beautiful, sweeping expanses of the Alaskan tundra. We look at the snow-capped peaks and the still, glassy waters of the fjords. And we tell ourselves that because it is beautiful, it is peaceful. We shrink the landscape down in our minds to a size we can manage. We pave a few roads, we build a few cabins, and we believe we have tamed it. But the moose is still standing perfectly still in the driveway, holding its ground. The ancient shark is still gliding blindly through the freezing black water beneath the boats. The wolf pack is still fanning out silently in the snow, coordinating the dark. And the Kodiak bear is still breathing quietly in the alders, waiting for you to walk by. These places were never designed for us. They were never really tame. They just let you believe they were. The wilderness is not a park, and it is not empty. It is a living, breathing ecosystem built on a scale that completely ignores our existence. If this countdown changed the way you will walk into the woods, or the way you look at the dark water, subscribe to the channel and stay for the next one. And the next time you step out of your truck on a quiet Alaskan highway and you look out at the trees and it feels just a little too quiet out there, remember why. You were never alone out here. You just thought you were.